Okay, Q&A. So the first part of this Q&A, hey, this is pretty good because we wanted to start it about halfway through, which we have. So the first part of this Q&A is questions that were emailed to us, and we have done our best. I think I just turned my printer on again. We have done our best to answer them here. It is hard to keep track of questions that came in. I did have another really good Sleuthie question on trimming feet, but we just couldn't get it on here because it came on, I have to turn off my printer, because it came on Messenger, and we just can't, there's too many things come from too many places. So please, for the future webinars, tell your friends, please, either you can put them on here live, which I can see people are doing right now, and or we can answer them by email if you want to see them on a slide. Remember that you are going to get a copy of these slides because the whole webinar, including these slides, gets emailed to you today or tomorrow. All right, here we go. Okay, this is one, obviously I had more than one person send in this question. Eye staining is a huge deal, right? So how to stop, so this is a two-part question really, because we need to stop the staining, right? Like that's the, I actually did a private consultation yesterday about this one topic. So how to stop staining. Look into using a product like Eye Envy. You can try it right now. You can get 15% off. It's one of our sponsors. Colloidal silver and baby wipes. Okay, so Eye Envy is great. It definitely works. I've used it on my white dogs. I also like colloidal silver in a spray. If you are going to use colloidal silver, please talk to your veterinarian first. How I like to use it is I like to, I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen, and I'm gonna go to Ellie Mae. Here's Ellie Mae. So what I like to do is, here's my Poodle or whatever breed I have with the eye staining. Obviously she's black and has no eye staining, but after talking to your veterinarian, you could use Peace and Kindness spray from Chris Christensen. It's 30 parts per million of colloidal silver. You can buy colloidal silver at the health food store and put it in your own little spray bottle. But literally for my stain dog, I'm gonna have the spray bottle here at the end of their nose. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2, like not right up, just the spray bottle is right here. 1, 2 into the eye, 1, 2 into the eye twice a day, and you will be amazed at how quickly that, combined with using something like Eye Envy, will really, really work for you. And so one time at PCA, I was given a poodle that had white poodle with staining like almost to the end of his nose. It was the worst staining I'd ever seen. Obviously, I was planning on taking him to the veterinarian when I got back home, but on my way back home, I was stopping and doing other shows. So it was about 10 days till I was going to get home. So I used the colloidal silver, and it was 75% cleared up by the time I got home. And then the rest of it did end up clearing up. And I used Eye Envy on him as well. I like to use baby wipes because baby wipes are gentle, and I just like to use them to wipe underneath the eye, like anywhere that it is stained, twice a day, because I feel you're preventing it. So that is part one. Part two is lessening the stain that is there now. So you will need milk of magnesia, which you buy at the drugstore, and 3% hydrogen peroxide, which is again the first aid kind, the one you buy at the drugstore, not the 20% that you buy for your hair, but the one that you buy for the dog show. You're going to mix those in equal parts, not a lot, like maybe a quarter cup of each. And you're going to mix that with enough cornstarch to form a paste. So to form like a paste a little bit thinner than toothpaste. And then you're going to put that on that stained area morning and night. It's going to harden. Some of it's going to fall off. You're just going to leave it in between baths, and every night and every morning you're just going to add more on top onto the stained area where it's fallen off, and just on top of the stuff that's already there. And the milk of magnesia is going to naturally over time pull that staining out. So that's a way to not bleach the face and to get the staining out of there naturally. Obviously, you're going to create this mixture, and you're going to keep it like in a little Tupperware or a tightly sealed jar. and it's going to last about a week. So every week you're going to wash the face with Happy Eyes because it's a truly tearless shampoo. You need to be really careful around the face. You're going to wash off all of that hardened stuff. You're going to make yourself a new batch and carry on, and it will pull that staining out of the eye naturally. So cleaning up our salukis for shows, especially getting rid of the fuzz. So there's what the last line of this slide is worded a little strongly, but we'll get to that. So cleaning up the fuzz. You want to use a grooming stone. The coarser the stone, the better. Once the stone starts to wear, you need to scrape it on a surface to get a rough edge again. You could also use the Chris Christensen Pro knife or the classic stripping knife in coarse, and you are going to hold the skin quite taut so that you're not tearing the skin, and you're just going to go in the direction that the hair grows, pulling out that fuzz. Each grooming session, I like to think that I'm taking 1/3 of the hair out. So if I do it 3 times a week, about 1/3 of the way along is what I want to do, because then I'm not stressing the skin too much. I like to do the sides of the neck, working down towards the shoulder. So if you can see on the diagram on the right, the little circled area, I do like to take my clippers, and on the longest setting, so like on a 7F or a 5, or like the wall 5-in-1 clippers that everybody seems to have now, on the longest setting, I am going to go with the grain of the hair, just that little throat latch area, to really clean that fuzz out. Because first of all, that's an uncomfortable place, and I'm going to go with it. I'm never going to do it the day before the show. I'm going to do it the week before the show. So now's the time to do it, right? Now's the time to practice, because if you hate it, it has lots of time to grow back in. So with the throat, just in that little throat latch area, and then from the sides of that, strip out all that extra fuzz. The other places that I like to use the 5-in-1 blade on the longest setting is right in here. And I go again with the grain, because this is a fuzzy area that is hard to manage, and they don't like you stripping out a lot of the hair here. And another place, this dog doesn't have a lot of fuzz there, but right in here, I'll use that blade. Again, always going with the grain of the hair, and always just with the longest setting. And again, you can see this isn't the greatest job here, but your dog needs to be standing naturally. And then you're just going to use the tip of the clipper to just clean this area out. Never here. This area looks clippered. It should not be clippered. This is taken out with your fingers or the stripping stone. This could be clippered with the tip. This can be clippered here, but again, we've gone a little bit too high up in this area. This needs to be stripped out with a stripping stone in here on the neck, stripping stone, but right, if the ear was up, right here is the area that we would clipper. I would take thinning shears going with the grain to this area and get this tidied. So hopefully that helped. I like that function. I didn't know we could do that with the slides. That was great. Okay, this was another question that was emailed to us. And the question was, how do I get the angulation on the rear legs, and what should the proportions of the front to rear legs be? So they didn't tell me what breed they had. From the question, I guessed that it was a poodle, puppy, and puppy trim. So if I'm wrong, email me back and tell me what breed it is. So another tip when you're emailing us questions, I'm not as smart as I look, so please, when possible, say what breed you have. So I build the angulation in by taking the coat as close to the body as possible from the pin bone to where the leg bends across from the stifle. So if you pick up the back leg, where it naturally bends is, I'm going to take the hair from the pin bone to that point at the back of the leg as close as possible to the skin. Sometimes you can even see skin, so practice that now. Then from that point to the hock and beyond, I let that grow in, and I let that be where I am creating angulation. I might let a lot of hair grow there if I think the dog needs more angulation. I might take a lot off if I think, you know, they have too much. You can kind of use that to balance. I, as a general rule, never take hair off the backs of the front legs or the fronts of the back legs. I just barely tidy that up. You want that negative square space to be as short as possible. The more length you create between the front legs and the back legs, the longer back your dog looks, no matter what breed it is. For the front legs, I generally don't let the hair grow longer than past the arch in the toes. So if you use, like if you draw a straight line from the arch in the toes up, the front leg hair never is longer than that when it's combed right out and trimmed it. So if you have left that length and you have left the length on the back of the front leg, that starts to give you a balance point between how the front legs and the back legs should look. And we do have this actually explained in depth and demonstrated on video in our Poodle puppy trim course at Leading Edge. So you are welcome to do that. Also welcome to send me photos of your own poodle, and I could mark them up as the start for your vision board. So there you go. I like my poodle in a salon or pet trim to be poofy, but I was told to make him tighter. It just is easier. With high set ears, I'm still working on the top knot and I like the bubble look. So yes, with a high ear set, it can be tricky to get the top knot right, especially if you like that bubble look. There might not be much reason to do this. And I've already talked to this person and I think they've already signed up to get the modern trim from the school because it is demonstrated there. But I was going to take this time just to demonstrate how you might do a bubble on a pet top knot, and also what you might want to do if you do have a dog with a higher ear set. And I'm just getting ready to show you on the lovely Ellie Mae. And so I'm going to stop sharing. And Ellie Mae has decided to now stand up. Ellie Mae, come here. Good girl. Good girl. Sit down. Good girl. Lay down. Okay. So can we see Ellie Mae there? Okay, so there she is. And I'm going to pull her a little bit closer to us. So here she is. You can see she has a poodle pet salon trim type haircut, nice and fluffy here. And here's her ear set, right? So you can see, typically I would have this cut up really nice and tight around the ear. So I'd actually use my curved shears backwards and go over the ear to get this nice and tight. Now she doesn't have a high ear set, but you can see how I could let that grow in so that it does, so you still get that kind of same salon poofy look, but it's not showing off. Like I haven't cut it really, really tight to the side. One of the tricks for getting the top knot even is to brush everything to one side from like left to right, and then trim up this way, and then do the same on the other side. So that is one way, is just to let it grow bigger from side to side and not have it as close to the skull. But if you did want to put a bubble in your pet top knot, you could quite simply do it. Like hers is all not quite long enough, but again, you're just gonna pinch the hair so you look like it's going to form a bubble. And then I like to use a parting comb, and I'm just gonna part it from side to side. And then I'm going to put all of this hair in a rubber band, and I like to just go around 3 times. And this is in my top knot course at Leading Edge. And then I'm going to just pull it and give her just a little bubble. Now, obviously she has all these ends because she's in a pet trim, but you can see maybe how you could just have a little, I've used a pink band, you could just have a little bubble in there. It's going to keep it out of her eyes. And this is probably what she'll look like when she goes camping with my sister, because my sister likes to cut her bangs with a jackknife. But yeah, so that's how you could just put the little bubble in your pet top knot. So I hoped that helped that person that was asking that question. And we're just going to go back to the slides quickly. And this was actually one of the first questions that we had come in. What is the best way to deal with mats in the armpits of a case hound? So the armpits are a high friction area, so it does mat a lot. Try thinning the amount of hair there. So I would pull the leg straight up, and actually I might show you that again on, oh, these are the safety that are so happy. And I'm going to show you that. And also, when you have the armpit pulled out, try Ice on Ice Ultra or Pro Grow to coat the hair, make the hair a little more slick, so then it's not going to mat as much. And also, what are the best type of grooming scissors for a case hound? So for a case hound, I would recommend using thinning shears only, like never straight shears. And I like the Artisan Safety Thinner, especially if you're just starting out, because with the safety thinner, the one edge is dull. So you take out less hair. They're not as aggressive, right? So it's a good place to start, especially for breeds that aren't supposed to have a lot of trimming done. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go back to Ellie Mae and hopefully you can see her here. So if Ellie Mae was a case hound, come on, Mae. We may have lost, okay. So I'm pulling this leg straight out, right? So here's her leg down. This is the armpit area. So I would only trim this area with the leg pulled straight out like this. And then I would use my thinning shears. So this is what my thinning shears look like, right? So I'm using, and then I would just go in here and just like go 1, 2, 3, and then brush this area out. And then I'm going to take my spray, like my Ice on Ice Ultra or my Pro Grow mixed up in a spray bottle. I'm going to spray this armpit area and brush it again, because then hopefully I am going to get less friction happening in there. And that is really going to help with the matting. Now, I also think, as we go back to the slides, that one of the earlier questions that this person had asked was their dog really didn't like being brushed, right? So how to get them used to being brushed. So one of the ways to get them used to being brushed is try the Chris Christensen, the wooden pin brush, because they are really, really gentle. They're awesome for puppies, but for dogs that don't like to be brushed, I really, really like them because it's just super, super gentle and they tend to like them a bit more. And I just want to see if, nope. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm going to go back to this case hound question, because the other question that they had, which I think we have for other people, and I'm just remembering an email that maybe I forgot to send to Katie, was my case hound always wants to like turn around and look at me while I'm grooming it. And so get your dog really tired, right? So before you groom them, work them out. And then while you're grooming, like reward them for looking the right way, right? So I had a Kerry Blue Terrier that, he always wanted to look at me. So I would like have a treat and be treating them with one hand while I'm brushing with the other, or like keep throwing a toy so that they're looking in the right direction. But just every time they look in the right direction, just encourage them. And I would just always sometimes they're looking at you because they know you're going to turn their head in the right direction because they feel that is a form of praise. So praise them with their head in the correct position. So don't be afraid. I would always have a pocket full of treats for some of my dogs when I was grooming them. And the other thing about dogs that don't really like being brushed is, even if it starts out with you're only brushing them for 3 minutes before they get frustrated, try to stop before they get frustrated and really, really reward them, so that it just becomes, oh, that's when so many fun things happen, is when I'm being brushed. All right, I need another drink. And I'm really going to try to get to some of the questions that are coming in. Okay, so here was a question that I think we mostly answered earlier on how do you properly blow dry an Australian Shepherd after the bath. And I showed you the brush. That was the oblong brush. I like the breezy brush in oblong, but any oblong brush would really do. And basically, for what I said earlier when we were looking at the slide on the stylized blow dry, this is basically those steps written out. So you could always refer back to this slide. How to make a pretty top knot without using hairspray. So we do have a lot of people that live in areas you can't use hairspray, but most people use some kind of spray in those countries, right? So Thick and Thicker, the aerosol spray is something that has been allowed to be used in those countries. Mixing sugar water. Also, you could do that. It takes a long time to dry, but mix sugar water in a spray bottle and use that to do up the top knot at the front. Of course, other than that very front piece, try backcombing and grooming crystals. Now, for the front piece, if you went to my Top Knot course and you saw how I did the fan, you could do that with sugar water and a blow dryer, and I will do a tutorial on that to show you how to do it. But now is the time to try it, right? So you want to like spread the fan out, and it's, again, it's one of those hopeful things. You can't groom it and hope it's going to turn out. You have to make it turn out. How to darken a charcoal coat on a standard poodle? Well, other than dyeing them. So anytime I'm gonna try to get like a black dog blacker, I'm going to use Black on Black by Chris Christensen, and they're gonna be in the tub. They're gonna be dry. They have not been bathed. And I'm going to put it straight on the coat, starting with the lightest areas first. So sometimes they have lighter areas like around their hip rosettes, especially if they're shaved, like wherever they tend to be shaved or clippered tends to be the lighter part. I'm gonna put it straight on those areas, straight on my dog, on as much of the coat as possible, and really work it in with my hands. I'm probably gonna wear gloves. It does wash off, but it does stain, especially around your fingernails. And I'm gonna leave it on for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to add water, lather it up, and add more shampoo if needed, leave on for another 10 minutes, and then rinse as usual. I would then like to use a product like After Bath because it helps seal the cuticle. It'll help seal that color in there. So that's what I would do. All right, I think we're getting to the end of our questions that were emailed in, and we are going to get to the ones that have come in live, if I can remember how to do that. Leading Edge, so here's my little spiel. Leading Edge is an ever-growing library of dog show knowledge. So we have courses on Springers, on the Setters, on Beagles, on Shelties, and of course we have Poodle University. And we like to bring you lots of content. We have Winner Circle, which is absolutely every single course we have. We have handling courses. We're doing more of these webinars. And you can visit us at leadingedgedogshowacademy.teachable.com to browse all of our courses. And just for attending our webinar, you can use the code webinar35 for 35% off everything. We will email all of this stuff to you. I'm going to go to the last slide. I want to thank Groomers Pro, Angels Grooming Apparel, and INB for sponsoring this webinar. So if you could give them a shout out either on social media, on our social media pages, anywhere, it just like it helps them know that you appreciated this, that they sponsored it, and that way they'll do another one and we can have more questions answered, right? Also remember, you can buy any of their products. They have Chris Christensen, they have INB, they have the gorgeous Angels Apparel grooming stuff, and you use the code until next Sunday, $7.15, get the 15% off, right? You might as well do that now and get it, but we really do appreciate them. Okay, so for the last 10 minutes, I'm going to get to as many of these Q&As as possible. Then the rest will be answered either in an upcoming webinar and or a YouTube video that we will do. But please reach out to us on social media. Ask us questions. Tell us the questions you want. Email them to me because that's the best way to get them out there. But on social media, if you could just say, yes, I would attend another webinar. Yes, I have 10 friends that would like to see a webinar. Those are the things we like to do to know if it's worth it for us to do another one, right? That's all we need. We just need to know. I mean, we are thrilled to death. This filled again at 500 and we have all of you online. So happy to do it. Here we go with the live questions.
So you want to exit out of your screen, like stop screen sharing?
Oh, is that what I should do?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. I'm gonna stop.
And then at the bottom it should say Q&A 14.
Yeah, I think I did that.
Okay, and you can see them?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I can just...
Right?
Sorry?
Okay, starting with Michaela.
Yes.
Okay, Michaela asks, how can you elaborate to properly trim the feet of a long-haired dog? For an example, Briard. Rabbit feet have been mentioned, uncertain what that means. Thanks. Okay, Michaela. What I like, so first of all, the feet need to be clean. They need to be blow dried, right? Because that's how you're going to get the best look. I like to use either clippers and clip out in between the pads first, because you want to make sure if they have too much hair growing up between the pads, then their foot is going to stand uneven. They're going to get mud balls and mats and stuff in there, and their toes start to look funny. So you can either clipper out, or you can use straight, blunt, short shears and just clipper or scissor the hair on the feet even with the pads. Once you have that done, you want the dog to be standing up on the table, standing how they naturally stand. So if they stand a little bit east-west, maybe a little bit pigeon-toed, you want them to stand naturally. Obviously, if they stand perfect, let them stand perfect. But it's important that their feet are standing how they stand naturally. So once the hair is all combed out, I like to use my thinning shears only, and I like to think of the shape that I like. So to me, Briards shouldn't have, rabbit feet to me is a long, narrow toe, more like what we want a Saluki to look like. I want my Briard feet to look a little bit more round than that. And so simply I'm going to just start with my thinning shears, making them look nice and round. So if my dog is standing a little bit east-west, I'm going to start on the outside of the foot and go around towards the front of the dog. And if they're standing pigeon-toed, I'm going to start on the inside of the foot and go again from the inside of the foot out towards the front of the dog. And you're going to scissor with your thinning shears touching the floor, like touching the grooming table, but they have to be standing. Just because you're scissoring the front feet doesn't mean they can be sitting, because how they stand is really important. Sitting will change the whole dynamic of what the foot looks like. This is a great question and something we haven't demoed before. So I think we'll make a note of this one and try to do it in our next webinar, like try to do a demo on how to do that. So I hope that helped. But I think it is something more visual that we should do in a webinar. Allie then asked, what grooming scissors do you recommend for a Shetland Sheepdog? So Allie, I really like the Artisan thinning shear. I do most of my work on a Sheltie with thinning shears. I don't use straight shears. I would use a short, blunt, straight shear for the feet and for the very, very tips of the ears and maybe the whiskers. The rest of it I would do with a thinning shear, like the Artisan thinning shear by Chris Christensen, or the Artisan safety shear. The Artisan safety shear is a great shear if you are worried about trimming them. You don't want to be too aggressive. But if you are experienced with thinning shears, I would go to the straight up Artisan thinner instead of the safety thinner. They are two different thinners. Krista says, thanks for doing the seminars. You're welcome, Krista. Thank you for saying that. I'm wondering what you would recommend for a regular maintenance product for hard-coated breeds. I've heard of Listerine and water or apple cider vinegar water mixes, even beer and eggs. What would you recommend to condition and protect the hair and skin for daily life, but not soften the texture? Many, many thanks. So, Krista, my two things were Listerine and water. So for their top coat, right? So I wouldn't use it to condition the furnishings. So I would use Listerine and water, mixed about 10% Listerine in a spray bottle of water, and I would mist that over them and then use a bristle brush and just really work it in. It does condition the coat. It does help with dander, and it does help to not have a greasy buildup. But for conditioning the actual leg coat, I would, at this point, with dog shows not being for a while, I would use ProGrow. So I would use ProGrow. I would use it this way. I would put about a tablespoon in my hand. I would emulsify it between my two hands, warm it up, and then I would just apply it on each leg. So it'd be about a tablespoon for each leg. If you think that is a bit too much conditioner, but again, this is the time to try it, then I would use Miracle Cream or Spectrum Hydro Pack. But for right now, personally, my go-to would be for, especially they're so hard coated, right? It's not going to soften the coat. It might make it feel a little softer. As soon as you bathe it out, you're going to bath it out with Clean Start. It's going to go right back. It's not going to permanently soften the texture. It's just going to protect it. Pam says, what's the best way to get a cowlick out of the butt of a Sheltie? Well, Pam, I have quite a bit of experience with cowlicks in the butts of my Shelties. So yes, I would force dry it till it's as dry as possible. Then I would use my hot dryer and that oblong brush that I showed you. Before I use the hot dryer, I would put some mousse in there. I would put some mousse and really, really style it. But this is an area that definitely, once it's dry, I am going to dry it for another 10 minutes. You could also, once they're not going to sleep in a wire crate. They're not going to sleep on a bed because that bed area is where they mess it up all the time, right? Then when I get them ready for the show, I'm going to refresh that area with a bit of bottoms up in water. And I'm going to dry it again and then put a damp towel on top of it to hold it down until I am in the ring. Okay, I hope that made sense. Jacqueline, is trimming everything half an inch shorter on an adult Sheltie good also, or just for puppies? Definitely on an adult. So on an adult, I would trim the ruff. I'd comb it all completely out, then trim it about a half inch shorter than you want. The pants and the underline to bring that underline in nice and thick. Definitely not the body hair. I wouldn't touch the body hair, but the underline, the back of the pants, and around the ruff, a good half inch is really going to help you out. Claudia asks, one of my border collies has really wiry hair around the tail area and in the back of the legs in comparison to the rest of the body hair, which is very straight and soft. I use supplements and that has helped, but these two areas have always been an issue. What do you recommend I do? Shall I leave a lot of conditioner in overnight and wash it off? Yes, I would use Spectrum 10 Hydro Pack or the Miracle Cream. I would put it in there. I could show you the thing that I did skip over was a plastic bag method. That would really, really work well on this kind of wiry hair. But leaving it in overnight, at this point, you could leave it in all the time. You could just put it in every night, like in those two areas, let them sleep with it. And by the morning, it's probably mostly going to be absorbed into the coat, and just not wash it out in between. Just leave it in except for your weekly bath. That's what I would do. Allie asked, how often should I bathe my Shetland Sheepdog? I bathe mine every single week. Because the more you bathe them, the more you're encouraging that dead hair to come out and the new hair to come back in. If they're blowing coat, twice a week, but once a week minimum. Barbara, do you use conditioner during baths for poodle puppies? I do. I don't use it a lot, but I just use it to get them used to having conditioner and getting me used to do it. Pam asks, would you full band an 8.5-month-old puppy right down the back? It depends how much hair they had. Definitely if they have enough hair to go into 2 bands, I would. Obviously, if it's just 1 band all the way down the back, I probably wouldn't. But if they have enough hair for 2 or more bands, then yeah, why not? Robin asked, do I dilute shampoo as well as conditioner? And should I use mousse for fullness in a rough coat of an Affenpinscher? So diluting shampoo. I like to use my shampoos often straight, especially like around the face. I'll use Happy Eyes, and I will use it straight, but how I use it is I don't put it straight onto the dog. I put it in my hand, rub it between my hands so it's fairly thin on my hands, and then work it through the hair until I find I don't have any more shampoo coming off of my hands. And once I don't have any more coming off of my hands, then I add it more and do it straight. And also once the shampoo is all in your dog, leave it in there for like 5 minutes. Let it actually do its work and then start rinsing. I always dilute my conditioners because I find it goes through the hair much, much easier. I would use conditioner straight on a problem area, but I'm going to spot treat the problem area with the conditioner straight, then dilute it, put it over the entire body. Again, for conditioners, wait at least 10 minutes. Wait with every single conditioner at least 10 minutes so the conditioner can actually do its job, and then rinse. Definitely for an Affenpinscher, I am using mousse. Definitely using mousse in the head, in the legs, and in the shawl area. Absolutely no question at all. That is what I would do. So we just went to 1 hour and 1 minute. So we are officially done. I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining us. Remember, post on social media that you'd like to see it. Send us in more questions. The rest of the questions that we have up here, we will answer either in the next webinar and or on a YouTube that we will send out ASAP. Well, not ASAP, we have a lot on the go. We're gonna send it out when we can. I get in trouble for saying ASAP because I have a lot and I'm usually the one that sure that things don't happen. So yes, please reach out to Groomers Pro and to Leading Edge. Let them know that you like the webinar. Let them know you'd like to see another one. Send us questions by email is the best way, because that's where they all get grouped together. We get things on my personal Facebook, on the Leading Edge Facebook, and then there's just too many areas to keep them track of. I really, really appreciate everybody out there sending in questions, having these webinars, asking me questions. I love learning from you people, just the same way that you learn from us. Please, please, please use the codes to get discounts, right? The codes will be emailed out to you. You will get an email of this recording that does include all of the slides that we have. And it's going to be emailed today and tomorrow with you. Remember to use the code 7R15 until April 19th to get 15% off anything, all the Chris Christensen products, INB, groomers, Angels Grooming Apparel. Please use those codes, and please use the webinar 35 code to get anything you want off of our Leading Edge. Please send in your questions, your photos that you want marked up for your own vision board. We would love to help you out with that, all right? It's a very different world out there, and we at Leading Edge just wish you and your families all the best, and please stay safe. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please give us a like, and if you haven't already done so, you can subscribe to our channel below. Also, check out leadingedgedogshow.academy.com for our premium content. We had a lot of fun bringing you all this information. See you soon. Bye.